Our Real Take today is going to look at Brightburn, and we're going to let you know if James Gunn's mashup of the superhero and horror genre flies or if it just falls flat on its face.
Brightburn is directed by David Yarovesky and it stars Elizabeth Banks, David Denman, and Jackson Dunn. Ever since the film's trailer was released, there's been a lot of talk about this movie having similarities to Superman and then films like Chronicle maybe, or other movies from the horror genre with evil kids like maybe, The Good Son or Children of the Corn. And that's pretty much what you get with this movie. So let's start with the plot of the film. It centers around a married couple played by Elizabeth Banks and David Denman, and they're struggling to have a child, and they've been trying for a while, and all of a sudden their prayers are sort of answered as a spacecraft just lands on Earth. Boom. And voila, a child appears. Yes. Yeah. And so they take this child as their own and they care for him. And then when the child kind of comes of age, around 12 years of age, he starts to uncover that he has these powers. There's not a lot of explanation as to how these powers begin to surface or even why they begin to surface, unless you align it with the fact that, he might be going through puberty. These powers begin to manifest themselves as he's coming of age, right? And he begins to unravel, and that's where things get a little hairy here,
Yeah, and unlike your traditional Superman story where, he's been brought up with these values and he just clings to those, this kid goes the opposite direction.
Oh yeah, this is one angry kid, and they throw in some factors of him being different, him being gifted, and so there is some bullying at school going on.
Yeah, but to me that was more of a plot device because I thought they were going to develop that more and delve into that more. It was just this is what's pissing him off, and he hit puberty, and suddenly he just goes, boom, I will just kill everything that pisses me off, basically.
Yeah, and that's one of the weaknesses of the film, I feel, is that you don't get a lot of background or explanation of why this kid, Brandon Breyer, why he begins to act out so devilishly, They should have delved more into that, but unfortunately they did not.
Yeah, they didn't, and it's kind of what I walked out of the theater feeling, is that this movie is unapologetically a horror movie that is all about, violence and gore. Surprisingly, I didn't see that in the trailer, but this is a gory movie. It's not trying to be a movie that has a lot of deep drama to it. It's more like, okay, we're going to give you some context, for our horror film that's going to take you all these different directions and show you just exactly how a 12-year-old would act with this type of a power set.
That's right, and it works as a horror film, in my opinion, more than it does as a superhero film. This movie is out to scare you.
Yes.
The jump scares are well executed, in my opinion, as far as jump scares are concerned.
They didn't overdo it.
They didn't overdo it. They're very loud, very in your face. The cuts combined with the sound effects are pretty jumpy, and it goes boldly into some very bloody, gruesome territory.
Yes.
Like, I couldn't believe some of the things.
I wanted more of that stuff.
Yeah, they could have hit you more with that. I did feel though that this movie did well as far as the running time. I liked how compact it felt and how it didn't linger, because a lot of horror films kind of tend to, set you up, to build suspense or attempt to build suspense. But this movie doesn't really do that. It just kind of goes along.
It trims the fat.
And I really appreciated how it just goes right along, and it's not over long like most movies nowadays. So
yeah, I think what was the runtime, like, I don't know, 91 minutes maybe?
Yeah, something like that. So that was really good.
Yeah, and another thing I would like to add is that this movie kind of centers also on the fact that you have this mother who is super coddling of this kid, and it's really the forefront of this movie, and I felt like they could have developed it more, and that would have maybe made it tug on the heartstrings a little bit more. And with the dad, I kind of didn't buy his inner struggle, because I kind of felt like he took like a one-line approach to this kid, so I didn't really buy that. And lastly, speaking of the kid, Brandon Breyer, I didn't really feel sorry for him, because the movie started off with basically him getting his butt kicked and having all this resentment, and then he quickly turns bad, so I didn't really feel like, poor kid. kid.
You know, I agree with the transformation, the abrupt transformation of Brandon Breyer going from just a regular kid to evil. I think that Elizabeth Banks as the mom, you know, of course, it's kind of annoying when you see a parent like being so overprotective of their child.
No, I totally agree with that.
And you know, it's silly, really. I mean, we were kind of sitting in the theater going, "Oh no, here she goes," like not believing anything.
Yeah, we know a lot of
doing
parents.
Everything to protect her son. Her son is a perfect angel no matter what.
Parents who can't see the faults in their kids.
Right, exactly. But I do feel that she was really convincing portraying that parent.
That I agree with. The acting was really good.
She was really convincing portraying that parent, and so she didn't annoy me as much because I really felt like she was really truly feeling, you know, that love for her son, that protectiveness for her son, and so it kind of worked for me a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree with the acting. I just kind of felt like they could have, again, like spent more time developing their bond.
Okay, I can see that.
That's what I mean.
And they kind of rush through his upbringing too, you know, they don't show you any like family moments, I guess,
they show you
like
kind of
care about them.
Some video clips and then...
Yeah, but it was really like these parents that really make the movie kind of feel grounded in a way. Mm-hmm. I think that the movie is a lot about two things. It's about this coming of age story, you know, going through puberty and going through all of these, you know, angry angst teenager stuff, but it's also about how parents are just like crazy about their kids, and
it's very hard,
and it's about the difficulties of child rearing, you know. So like that was interesting to me. That's what made the movie feel good to me, besides the jump scares and the horror factor,
right?
Which is
and the novelty of the mixture of genres here, you know. So, but so it was an enjoyable movie for us. It's a low budget movie, so in terms of techniques, the effects were okay, but you could kind of tell some of the CGI could have used more polish. But
but it's
a minor thing.
Well done, you know, considering the budget.
Yeah, so this is definitely a movie that I enjoyed. I mean, it wasn't one of my best movies so far, but it wasn't a horrible movie at all. So I would recommend you guys watch it.
All right, so now it's time for our ratings, and you know, I enjoyed this movie. I definitely would like to see maybe a sequel. I would definitely love to see how this franchise could become, you know, how it could grow maybe.
Right.
So I am going to give this film 3.5 reels. I enjoyed it. I wish there would have been more story, more explanation, more background, of course, but as far as a horror film, it was effective.
Okay, and surprisingly, I perfectly agree with you. 3.5 reels for me. I'm not going to repeat anything I said, so I'll just leave it at that.
As always, please leave your comments below. Tell us your thoughts about Brightburn as a horror superhero film, and look us up on social media. We're on Facebook at Real Screeners and Instagram real.screeners.
And if you do decide to watch this in the theaters, hopefully you have an Alamo Drafthouse in your town. It is hands down the best theater I've ever been to, guys. So definitely check it out there. And that'll do it, guys. So for Beth and Lenny, the Real Screeners, if you like our videos, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell button for notifications. And check us out next time for our real take on movies.
Jackson
Hewitt.
Done. Jackson done. That's right. Jackson, I'm done. Jackson done. Jackson what? Done. What are you, Jackson? I'm done. What, Jackson? Done.
Jackson done.
Brightburn is directed by David Yarovera Burubugi.
Bobiega?
Hey, boo boo. And then one day, a space, you know, ship, craft. I don't know why, dude. I can't talk. I cannot talk. I'm gonna start all over
Space
again.
vessel.